Before it was Russia and Ukraine, it looks like the news just basically gravitates around drama, negative drama. Like, okay, where are bombs going off? Where is there a lot of noise? Where are people dying?
Something heavy on my mind. Something strong.
Welcome back to The Bridge with the Black Rider, and again, Kunal Saxena to my right, If You're an Idea on my left. And when Trish and Wale said it's 24 minutes, it was like we were talking for like 5 minutes. Anyway, just to let you know how important, talking about what is going on in the world is. So, Kunal, when you look at the world today, with all that is going on, the divisions, the wars, whatever, there's a lot of good happening in the world. I mean, technology is advancing, science is advancing. Now there are surgeries that are being done, a lot of things are advancing with mankind, and we have to give that. But at the same time, we can't run away from the fact that these divisions are there, and they kind of hold us back. We are sitting in this room now, different religions, different beliefs, different whatever. We work together as friends, we work together as colleagues, and those divisions never interfere with what we do. So why do you think on a global scale it is such a problem to get the world to function that way? Why can three friends be like that, but most of the world can't be like that?
What I feel, it totally depends upon the mentality, what they are getting from the world, what they are listening.
Whose mentality?
People, different people, anybody. He can be anyone. Like I told you that some people I know, those said that no, I cannot go with him, I cannot eat with him, I have some problem. Like I'll tell you, there is a room partner in at my house. I have a room partner. He's having some habits which I don't like. Maybe some of my habits he doesn't like. But I never complain to him. I may complain to him that he is like that, but I never complain to him because I don't know why he becomes like that. Maybe something happened with him which makes him like him. Something happens with me which makes me like me. Okay, so I cannot judge him. But if he asks me, okay Kunal, today we will have the dinner together, I always said, okay, come. Maybe I never asked him, but if I asked him that you come and have dinner with me, maybe he said, okay, we'll have dinner. So it totally depends upon the perspective, what has happened before, the past experiences, which makes people, in the back of their mind, they have some load. That no, in past I had suffered this, so I'm not going to eat with this guy, or I'm not going to make friendship with this. So maybe some past experience or something like that. But what I told you previously, that God, maximum wars are going on, differences are going on because of the religion. But nobody is coming to that fact that somebody makes God for what? For me, my God is not something like who can do any miracle. No, my God is just, I can sit, I can remember him, and I'll prepare myself, my mind, my heart, my will, so that I can take care of the whole day.
Why is this such a problem?
Sound like the God of Spinoza.
Sorry?
Gods of Spinoza, I don't know. Why do you think it's such a problem?
So it's for me, it's fundamentally based on one thing. Why the problem is based on information processing. So information processing basically is intelligence. Information processing. If you have subsets of people and they process information differently based on the data they have, so you call it history. The data they have, the data they're acquiring now, which is the present, and their view of the future will be shaped by those two data, how they process them. And so what you typically then get, what you see all over the world today, is the scarcity mentality. The whole world believes that lithium is not enough. The whole world believes that oil is not enough. The whole world believes that the battery will not be enough. The only thing they agree on is that sunlight is enough. Even fresh water, they believe that fresh water is not enough. They are even predicting the fresh water wars to happen in another couple of maybe 100 or so years. So information processing enable you to see how you see the world. And so once there's that establishment of the information as in scarcity mentality, then you now have attrition of the follow immediately. So I'll give you a good example. What we've learned in the last 100 years, 70 years, is that communism doesn't work. Before then, there were two competing ideas, communism and capitalism. Would they work? But the jury is no longer out. One has accounted for thousands of deaths. It had some benefits, but thousands of deaths in Russia, thousands of deaths in the Ukraine, thousands of deaths in China. All these came from the idea of the state can control everything, everybody can get equal. It never worked. And capitalism now won. What are we now seeing from capitalism? We are seeing from capitalism now that if it's unbridled, it leads to some people having so much power, so much wealth that they take over everything and they cannot have the control. That's what we're seeing now. We are seeing it clearly in the United States, where a few people have so much power, they call them the military industrial complex. And every time people like companies like organizations like BlackRock, they have so much money, so much power. Every time they feel that the market is not doing so well, they cause some kind of wahala in the world, and prices go up. They make so much profit, they accumulate profit again, and the cycle continues. For example, if you remember the Iraq War, second Iraq War, where Saddam Hussein was taken out, the story goes that the day before Madiba, South African president, was to go and talk to Saddam, who Saddam would have listened to and say, okay, you know what, come and check and do all that. The day before that day was the day America struck, but they didn't want peace. Okay, we all now know that Tony Blair, George Bush, and the late Colin Powell all gathered to lie against Iraq just because they wanted their oil. Halliburton went there, are doing all the contracts, all this for their resources. But guess what? The United States has so much oil stored in reserve.
I know.
But what was the information they possessed? They possessed the information of scarcity. And this oil will not be enough. Meanwhile, the reason why we've enjoyed some level, it's a theory though, but the reason why we've enjoyed some level of peace till now is because technology has improved so much that we now have technology to make a small farmland produce 100 bags of rice than we would have done one bag years ago.
Yeah.
We now have this technology that are available to
Hybrid seeds and all that.
Yeah. And so this is now available to us now. I was at a Nordic conference some days ago. I deliberately attended the food agri section because I pretty much knew what was going to happen in the digital side and all the rest. And they were talking about vertical planting. And I was like, oh, okay. So this is you can get more from a small piece of land just by going vertical.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can see the thinking that is happening, that these things are possible. And if you are in a hostile country like Norway or Iceland or Finland or Nepal, near the Everest, yes, Nepal, where your land is very hostile and you have technologies to bring from that land, you don't want to fight war because you can bring prosperity to your people. Anybody that's look, let's face it, if you're having a party, you don't want people to come and disturb your party and cause fight in your party. You're enjoying yourself.
Exactly.
Any country that's doing well don't want war. If they have a military, just to keep the peace and give a possible idea of credible threat. Those that are not doing well, they want war. So I think that's the fundamental part to why I think
That's what I told you in the beginning.
Yes.
Too much. Like you said, it is in India also that some people have everything
yes,
and rest of the people are not having. Okay, but everything is business. There is no war, there is nothing, no hijacking, no war, nothing, no terrorism. Everything is just a business to show people that there is a scarcity. Maybe terrorism is showing their people that we don't have food, we don't have land, we don't have work, so we will snatch everything. So it's just to show scarcity, and this scarcity is governed by the people who is having everything.
correct.
They just show the scarcity, interest, take their interest, and again go back to the normal.
Now, we have about 10 or 15 minutes to end this show. And there are two things I want us to address before we leave. The first is the difference happening in the world. Look at it this way. You have India that has 1.4 billion people, right?
Number 5, they're number 1.
1.5 billion people, right? But it's not like there's no poverty in India. But everybody knows that information technology, Indians own it. all over the world.
Pharmaceuticals.
Pharmaceutical. I mean, you name it. There are certain things Indians are known for. Automobiles.
Yes, automation.
So many other things.
Exactly.
You know, but here you have also China, 1.4 billion people. Now, the entirety of Africa is 1.2 billion people, right? But have you noticed? Look at a whole continent. 50, what many countries in Africa? Like 50 countries or 52 or 53, about 50, 54 countries I think in Africa, I'm not so sure. But what we look, you have like a Sudan in Africa. You have, you know, other countries that are not, you have Algeria, you know, countries that are really struggling. Even in other parts of the world, you know, you have maybe countries, you know, dotted all over the world that are so seriously struggling.
Exactly.
And then you have other parts of the world that are doing extremely well. So you look at a video from Sudan and you see, oh, aid, World Food Program is just sending food. And then you look at videos, you see like millions of hungry people, uneducated people. Do you think this, what do you think will bring into like a place like Sudan or other parts of the world where there's so much scarcity and lack? What they need is education. They need to be enlightened. You understand what I'm saying? Why is it that it just continues that way? Do you see a change happening to countries like this? You know, so that one day they can also be like a Canada. You know, they can be an America.
What I feel that stop interference of the third people.
Third parties.
Third parties means the other countries. If it is a part of your country, let your people take care of it. You understand? In India, what we had started, we are taking care of everything by ourselves. We don't need anybody's help. If you want to help us, if we agree, because the Sudan or some other countries, especially in Africa, they are just like, you know, place from where the third parties are churning money in the name of UNESCO or so many other things. Like we are doing so much here on that name. Whole world is funding them. And how much is coming? If whole world is funding Sudan, why still Sudan is having hunger problem, food problem? If you give it to your government, okay, I'll give it to you. You take care. We are not coming on. They will start doing and they will start implementing.
But they are killing themselves in Sudan. What do you think? I mean, if I don't know what your thought is.
Okay. So the Sudan issue is a little more complex. Because there's a racial issue there between the Arab Sudan and the Black Sudan.
And I'm not just saying Sudan specifically. I'm saying parts of the world that are experiencing that kind of unsettling.
I'll leave Sudan very quickly. So the complex issue of that, there's also a complex issue of minerals that are there, where even if you go to Sudan or you go to Congo, you still see the Russian military there. So what are you doing there? They're at war, yet you are there all this time because you are busy taking out their resources. So a lot of time Africa is where it is because of those things. Africa is one of the major hotspots of poverty and a fantastic example of what you're talking about. And again, South America, the same thing. Whatever Africans are experiencing, South America is experiencing for the same powers that be that coming to suck up their resources. So that's why it's there. But
which is still the third party into interfering.
Yeah, but you see, to shed a little more light on what Kunal mentioned was that India is pretty unique. Whether it's just sheer luck, but I think it's coming from an old tradition that they've had that has placed enlightenment of the spirit or the mind over material things that have been running for India even before the British got there. So those fundamental history was already there for India. And if you look at the response that Gandhi gave when they told him to become president, if you gave it to every other country, the person would take the presidency. Even Mandela took the presidency, but the guy said no. He took something greater than current glory. He took immortality. That comes from a level of wisdom that comes from somewhere much higher. And guess what? They gave the presidency to Nehru. Nehru became president. Nehru set up the first IIT in India. Wasn't there before, because what the British gave to them was what the British gave to us. They gave you this system of education that is all mainly paperwork, but you can't do, forgive my language, you can't do shit. So you finish as an engineer or as anything, and you go to the field and you can't do anything because you were trained on paper. So what Nehru did was set up the IIT, and let me tell you what he did that was special. When the exams were done for the first IIT, he personally I may be wrong with history, but what I read, he personally drew the line for the last candidate. 100% merit. If you are not in that merit list, you can't enter.
And the die.
They maintain that tradition in the IIT till today. And if you go to India, when the young boys are preparing for the exam, they know that if they enter IIT and they succeed in doing well in school, they're going to get the top jobs, not in India, in the world.
Now, what you are telling about the mentality in IIT, the young generation who passed out from IIT in India, they are coming back. They left their job. They are coming back to India. They are doing some startup business. They are giving, and they are doing well. Means
So,
they are doing very nice.
This IIT, what does it mean?
Indian Institute of Technology.
Okay, Indian Institute, just like you have the Massachusetts.
Yes, it was modern after that.
MIT.
Yes.
So IIT.
Yes,
Okay.
and they have it all over India now. So that with one, you should have about
Now we have
every
around
state you
11
have one,
yeah.
11 or 12. Okay, so that's how they did it, and those places. Guess what? I had a classmate, Jalan Sumit. He's the co-chair of Credit Suisse in India, investment banker, young boy, very smart guy.
What is the name?
Jalan Sumit.
Okay.
He got into IIM Ahmedabad. So they set up the IIT, later set up the IIM.
IIM is settled after that.
Yes,
Okay,
so
Indian Institute of Management.
Okay,
Management.
so it's Indian Institute
So,
of Management.
and he told me, he said, look, to get into those schools, you have to be like the one. Harvard takes 10%,
Yes.
yes? They take 1%
Exactly.
just to enter, and he made it. And while I was doing my internship with Goldman, he was with to enter equities trading in Goldman Sachs in New York. And he told me they resume in October. They've not started classes. They do their fair, and they come them and pick them already. They are young guys. So my point I'm making for you is this: we need to come back to a place where, as India did it, we must do it the same way. Two folds. On one fold, you must go back and take a significant amount of money and pour back into the educational sector. Then let the companies provide the bridge so that whatever they are learning is enforced by their practice and they are coming out skilled. That's for the educational sector. At the same time, make sure they get food. Focus on those two.
Education and food.
Let many things can suffer. You can even suffer without power for some time. Yeah, cost is high. Well, suffer power now over 50 years.
Yeah.
Cost is high. You can suffer with a little bit of bad road, but I promise you, when those kids are coming out 20, 30 years time, they will fix everything.
Look, we're taking the last point for the evening very, very quickly. Young people are coming up now in this very confusing world, and it's almost as if they live in their own world. Like, you know, I have a son that's 25, my daughter is 23, and I have a 15-year-old. And I try to sometimes get into their world, you know, like, what do they think about their home? What do they think about Nigeria? What do they think about the world? You know, because things, when I was growing up, things were way, way, way different from this. You understand?
Yeah.
So now we're in this, things are quite complicated, you know, but what in the last few minutes that we have now, what do you guys have to say to young people of today to prepare themselves for survival? What would you say, a young person? When I'm talking about the Gen Zs now, for instance, what would you say to the Gen Zs? What do they need to prepare themselves with to survive in today's world and in tomorrow's world, actually?
The most important thing is that if you are capable, again, I'm telling about the capability. You believe in yourself, do your education first, and don't see what country is giving you. You try to generate, because there is no country like you are here, you are in this country. If tomorrow morning somebody said that there is no job, no money in Africa, I'm not going to stay in Africa. I said that I have seen the money in Africa. I have seen the people. I have seen.
No, he's here.
Yes, I'm
You're
here.
here.
I have seen the jobs in Africa. I have seen everything. So it is just, you know, it is just a easy approach that I am not able to do anything here. I'll go there and I'll do there. Why?
Because it's easier.
Because it's easy. Here you have to put 90% efforts, there you have to put 50% efforts to get a job, to change something. So first of all, you have to, this pamperness you have to remove from the upbringing of our kids. Don't show them all green. There are some green, there are some black, there are some brown. This world is colorful. So you have to see your color at your home, not at others' home. So this mentality has to be changed.
Efe,
Here, a lot of things you can do. So why not here? Try
you
once.
know, Kunal, you've started a conversation, and because of this, you guys are coming back. We have to continue this conversation. So I'm going to invite Kunal and Efe again for the next session. We're having another session next week, and I'm inviting them because it never ends. Most of the time when I go out with these gentlemen, we're talking 2-3 hours, just things that are relevant. So we're coming back next week. So Efe, what do you think? This Japa syndrome in Nigeria? I mean, look, a lot of people that I know, my kids don't live in the country. My entire family doesn't live there. Your family doesn't live in the country.
We're guilty as charged.
We're guilty as charged. We're saying these things now. We're laughing about them, but the truth, somebody said something one day. I'm sorry, maybe we'll take a few minutes. One of my clients said to me one day, Toyin, you are laboring in Nigeria today. You're building businesses. Who will take over those businesses when you're gone?
Yes. Fundamental question.
Fundamental question. And my kids are in England. I don't know what they want to do with themselves. I'm not thinking about succession with them. I have some kind of thought because there's a business I've invested in that I don't have to be there and it's running. And I'm thinking, okay, yeah, maybe one of my kids or whatever could step into these shoes, but it's different. But I mean, if I don't know what you think, like Kunal is saying,
I think when it comes to when it comes to Japa, it's interesting if you do a proper mapping one for one. So let's say, for example, you want to Japa, you are a middle class person.
And for the benefit of those who don't know what Japa is fleeing your country.
economic migration.
Economic migration.
Okay.
That's simply what it is.
So when you want to Japa, let's say you're the median income of your country, and if you are struggling to make ends meet. So when you Japa to another place, if you do based on that particular metric alone, you're still going to go there and still fall into the median income of that place. You're not going to Japa and join the leagues of Elon Musk or join the leagues of Michael Jordan, or you're not going to Japa to do this. Of 100 of you that Japas, 1% will join that league. It's almost the same thing we're having here. Okay, so what we're just having here is how can we change our system so that more merit comes into it and there's less need for connections. If we can just create that, we're not going to get the best systems. People can begin to stay. I get it that your children have better medical care. I get it your children have better education. I get those things that are there. But if they provide them here, you find out that you are in terms of look, as a person that wants to contribute to the world or lead to the world when you leave, the best place to contribute is actually here, where people are still struggling.
Yeah, but Efe, I'm going to interrupt there and probably end the show here. But I'll say this, and then, like I said, we're having a second edition of this conversation next week. I think, and this is probably where we're going to take off next week. I think the most important reason people are leaving are two things: security. And when I talk about security, I'm not talking about just security of somebody can gun me down on the next street. No, security of employment, security of your health, security
of your
future, and secondly, dignity. Please, we're going to, these two things are where we're going to start this conversation, Kunal. And your input, I know you're traveling very soon. I want you on this show to talk about this thing and relate it to your own experience as an Indian in India. So where the next episode with these two gentlemen would be, we're taking off with why are people leaving Nigeria, and probably putting it side by side with the Indian experience and maybe other places of the world where we have experience. Because I know if he has been around, he's been in Japan, he's been in Singapore, he's been everywhere, he's done all these other things, he's done whatever. So we're going to put them side by side. Human dignity, human security. That's our next episode on this show. So look, for everyone that joined, I'm truly, truly grateful. Kunal and I and Efe say thank you so much for joining us on this episode of The Bridge with the Black Rider. And we can't wait to see you at the next event. Like I say, you're going to see our email address down. Our social media handles are going to be there. Feel free to leave us messages. And if you're watching now, I would say to you, You're going to learn so much from this episode that we're going to put out. We're not just going to talk about things that entertain you. Where our objective is not to entertain you. Of course, I can talk about if it's belly once in a while. I can say all those about his cap and whatever. You know, I'm not going to. This table is high because of my own bow legs. You know, so we can entertain you a few times. But the most important thing is for us to discuss real issues and bring them to the table for us to talk about and for people to learn from these conversations. So please feel free to reach out to us, and we really look forward to seeing you at the next episode. Have a fantastic time.